Imagine this. You're sitting at your dining table, enjoying a meal you quickly reheated in the microwave. It's a dish you've eaten hundreds of times before, something you thought was harmless, even comforting. But what if I told you that a simple habit like this could be silently harming your health, increasing the risk of one of the deadliest diseases known to man, pancreatic cancer? Would you ever look at that plate of food the same way again? Your life, your health, and your future depend on the choices you make daily. And today, we're diving into the foods that could be slowly endangering your pancreas. Foods you probably eat every week without even realizing the risk. We live in a world where convenience is king. Our schedules are tight, responsibilities are endless, and the idea of cooking fresh meals every single day can feel overwhelming. That's why reheating food has become such a normal part of modern life. Easy, quick, and cost-effective. But here's the truth you might not want to hear: reheating certain foods isn't as harmless as you think. What seems like a time-saving habit could quietly be harming your health, putting an unnecessary strain on one of the most vital organs in your body. The pancreas. Think about the way we handle food. We often cook in bulk, store leftovers in the fridge or freezer, and reheat them later to save time. While this method seems practical, few people realize how much the chemical and bacterial composition of food can change once it's been cooked, stored, and reheated. Some foods undergo transformations that aren't visible to the naked eye. Changes can create harmful toxins, foster bacterial growth, or alter the structure of nutrients in ways that impact your body negatively. The pancreas, a small organ tucked behind your stomach, plays a huge role in your digestive system. It helps break down food and regulates blood sugar through the production of insulin. But the pancreas is also extremely sensitive. When it's exposed repeatedly to harmful compounds, whether from toxins, bacterial infections, or chronic inflammation, it becomes vulnerable. Over time, vulnerability can escalate into something far more serious: pancreatic cancer. This isn't a disease that happens overnight. It develops slowly and silently, often without symptoms until it's advanced. That's why prevention is crucial, and understanding what you're putting into your body is the first step. When we reheat certain foods, particularly those prone to bacterial growth or chemical changes, we unknowingly put our pancreas under pressure. For example, if food has been stored improperly or for too long, bacteria can multiply. Reheating might kill some bacteria, but it doesn't always eliminate the toxins they leave behind. These toxins can inflame your digestive tract and, more specifically, your pancreas. Chronic inflammation is a known risk factor for cancer development. It's like repeatedly poking a wound and expecting it to heal. It simply won't. But the danger doesn't stop at bacteria. The molecular structure of some foods changes when they're reheated. Proteins can become harder to digest. Nitrates can convert into harmful nitrosamines. Starches can transform in ways that disrupt your gut health. All of this creates stress for your digestive system, especially the pancreas. Over time, constant exposure to these harmful changes can weaken your pancreas, making it more susceptible to diseases, including cancer. What makes this even more alarming is how normal the habit is. Millions of people reheat leftovers every day without thinking twice about it. We microwave last night's dinner, reheat rice from the fridge, or warm up chicken for a quick lunch. Feels harmless because it's so routine. But the cumulative effect of eating foods that have been reheated incorrectly, or reheating foods that should not be reheated at all, can be devastating to your health. Doctors and nutrition experts have been warning about this for years, but the message often gets drowned out by our busy lives. We think, it won't happen to me, or I've been doing this for years and I'm fine. But pancreatic cancer doesn't show up overnight. And when it does, it's often too late to reverse the damage. That's why awareness and action today are so important. The good news is you have the power to change this habit. By learning which foods pose the greatest risks when reheated and how to handle leftovers properly, you can protect your pancreas and significantly reduce your risk of disease. This isn't about fear. It's about realizing that the small choices you make every day add up over time. When it comes to your health, prevention is always easier and more effective than treatment. So the next time you reach for the microwave or stovetop to reheat leftovers, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, this food safe to reheat? Has it been stored correctly? Am I putting convenience above my health? That moment of mindfulness could be the difference between a healthy, thriving future and one filled with unnecessary illness. Your life is too valuable to gamble with. And your pancreas, though small, is counting on you to protect it. Potatoes are a staple in almost every kitchen. Versatile, delicious, and budget-friendly. Whether mashed, baked, fried, or the roasted, potatoes are the comfort food we all love. But there's a dangerous truth about potatoes that most people never think about. Reheating them incorrectly can create a silent threat to your health, and that threat can put your pancreas at serious risk. Let's be honest, how often do you prepare a big batch of mashed potatoes for dinner, store the leftovers in the fridge, and reheat them the next day? It seems harmless, even smart, right? Saving money and avoiding food waste. But here's the danger when potatoes are cooked, cooled, and stored at the wrong temperatures. They become a breeding ground for harmful bacteria, particularly a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. This bacteria doesn't need much oxygen to survive. When you place cooked potatoes in foil and leave them at room temperature, or even refrigerate them without proper care, the environment can become ideal for these bacteria to thrive. And once they do, they can release dangerous toxins. Toxins are not always destroyed during reheating. That means that even if the potatoes look fine and taste fine, you could be consuming harmful substances that stress your digestive system and, most importantly, your pancreas. But it doesn't stop there. When potatoes are cooled and reheated, the starches inside them can undergo a process called retrogradation. Chemical change makes the starches harder for your digestive system to break down, placing more work on your pancreas. Over time, if you keep making this a habit, your pancreas becomes overburdened. Chronic stress on this vital organ can lead to inflammation, and chronic inflammation is a key factor in the development of pancreatic cancer. Easy to dismiss these facts because the effects aren't immediate. You don't eat reheated potatoes once and wake up with cancer the next day. But the problem is the cumulative damage. Every time you reheat potatoes improperly, you risk introducing toxins into your body. Every time you force your pancreas to work overtime processing starches that have been chemically altered, you're increasing the odds of long-term complications. Now, let's talk about how this happens in real life. Picture this: you've cooked a batch of baked potatoes wrapped in foil. After dinner, you leave them out on the counter for a few hours before refrigerating them. The next day, you throw them in the microwave, and they're warm and ready to eat within minutes. Seems convenient, but those hours on the counter gave bacteria the perfect opportunity to multiply. And if the potatoes weren't reheated thoroughly, the bacteria or toxins they left behind may now be in your body. It isn't just about food poisoning. It's about the chronic damage that those toxins can cause. Doctors have warned about this because they've seen the outcomes. Patients who thought they were eating healthy meals unknowingly exposed their bodies to harmful bacteria and toxins for years. It starts with a little discomfort, maybe indigestion or bloating. But over time, the pancreas suffers repeated injuries. The cells become inflamed and damaged. Eventually, this increases the likelihood of mutations that lead to cancer. So, what can you do? Awareness is your best defense. You must store cooked potatoes, refrigerate them immediately, not hours later. Make sure they are cooled quickly and stored in airtight containers rather than wrapped in foil. And when reheating, heat them thoroughly until they are steaming hot all the way through, not just warm on the surface. Better yet, consider cooking only what you need or repurposing potatoes in dishes that require thorough recooking, like soups or casseroles, instead of simply microwaving them. You have the power to change this. Protecting your pancreas isn't about giving up potatoes, it's about handling them with care. Your health is far too important to take shortcuts with something so simple. By making small adjustments to how you store and reheat potatoes, you can significantly lower your risk of exposing your pancreas to harmful toxins and inflammation. Think of it this way: every mindful choice you make today is an investment in your future. You wouldn't intentionally harm your pancreas, but ignoring these warnings can have the same effect over time. Reheated potatoes may seem harmless, but the hidden dangers are real. Now that you know the truth, you can take control, and that control could save your life. Rice is one of the most popular foods worldwide. It's filling, versatile, and can be served with almost anything. Many of us cook it in large batches and save the leftovers for later. But what most people don't know is that reheating rice can be far more dangerous than it appears. If handled incorrectly, seemingly harmless food can become a silent enemy to your health and a direct threat to your pancreas. Here's the unsettling truth: rice can harbor a bacteria called Bacillus cereus. Bacteria is unique because it forms spores, tiny protective shields, that allow it to survive even after cooking. When cooked rice is left at room temperature for too long, these spores can multiply rapidly. They release toxins that are resistant to heat, meaning that simply reheating the rice won't always make it safe to eat. These toxins can cause food poisoning symptoms like vomiting, nausea, and diarrhea. The danger doesn't end there. Repeated exposure to these harmful toxins places constant stress on your pancreas, an organ already working hard to regulate your blood sugar and help digest food. Over time, stress can lead to chronic inflammation, which is one of the leading precursors to pancreatic cancer. Think about how rice is typically handled in many households. You cook a big pot, serve some for dinner, then leave the pot sitting out on the stove while everyone eats and cleans up. By the time you store the leftovers in the fridge, hours may have passed. Time gap is all Bacillus cereus needs to multiply and release its toxins. The next day you might scoop some rice onto a plate, pop it in the microwave, and think it's fine because it's hot. But even if you heat it until steaming, the toxins produced by the bacteria may still remain. The risk isn't hypothetical. Doctors have documented cases where reheated rice led to severe illness and long-term damage. It's easy to dismiss these warnings, especially when you've reheated rice before and nothing happened. But the damage doesn't always show up right away. Small, repeated exposures to bacterial toxins can gradually weaken your pancreas, inflame your digestive tract, and set the stage for much more serious health problems in the future. What makes this even more dangerous is how common the habit is. Millions of people worldwide eat reheated rice daily. It's part of busy life. Leftover rice is convenient and stretches the grocery budget. But convenience should never come at the cost of your long-term health. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers because it is usually diagnosed late. Prevention, therefore, is the single most powerful way to protect yourself. So, How can you safely handle rice? The key is storage and timing. First, don't leave cooked rice sitting at room temperature for more than an hour. Cool it quickly after cooking by spreading it out on a clean tray or placing it in small, shallow containers. Refrigerate it as soon as possible. When reheating, make sure the rice is piping hot all the way through, not just warm in spots. And never reheat rice more than once. Each cycle of cooling and reheating increases the risk of bacterial growth and toxin production. Another smart option is to repurpose leftover rice into dishes that require thorough cooking, like fried rice or casseroles, instead of just microwaving it plain. Gives you a better chance of killing any bacteria present. But the best solution is simple: cook only as much rice as you'll eat at one meal. While this may take a little more time, eliminates the risk altogether. Your pancreas is too important to neglect. This small organ silently works for you every single day, digesting food and regulating blood sugar without complaint. But it cannot withstand constant attacks from bacterial toxins or chronic inflammation forever. Reheated rice may seem harmless. Mishandling it can lead to the type of stress and damage that leaves your pancreas vulnerable to serious disease. Now that you understand the risks, you have the power to make better choices. Handle rice with care, respect the warnings from doctors and experts, and never let convenience outweigh your health. Every mindful decision you make in the kitchen brings you one step closer to protecting your future. Chicken is one of the most consumed proteins in the world. It's versatile, healthy, and can be prepared in countless ways. But here's a sobering truth: reheating chicken can be more dangerous than you think. If it isn't done correctly, seemingly harmless habit can put your health at risk and place a heavy burden on your pancreas. A burden that, over time, could increase the risk of pancreatic cancer. Face it, leftover chicken is a part of almost every household. Whether it's baked, grilled, or fried, we often cook large batches and save the extra portions for lunches and dinners throughout the week. Feels like a smart move. But when chicken is cooled, stored, and reheated incorrectly, you create the perfect conditions for harmful bacteria like Salmonella and Campylobacter to survive and thrive. Bacteria are dangerous because even small amounts can cause infections that inflame your digestive system. But there's more. When you reheat chicken, its molecular structure changes, especially the proteins. Unlike some foods that stay stable, chicken's proteins become harder for your digestive system to break down after being reheated. This forces your pancreas and digestive tract to work harder than they should, creates unnecessary stress. If this pattern continues repeatedly, it can lead to chronic inflammation, a condition that weakens your pancreas over time and raises your risk of developing pancreatic cancer. Here's an example: you bake a batch of chicken thighs for dinner. After the meal, you leave them on the counter while you finish chores and clean up. Hours later, you store them in the fridge. The next day, you grab one of the pieces, throw it in the microwave for a quick lunch, and eat it when it's warm. What's wrong with that picture? The chicken sat at room temperature long enough for bacteria to multiply. And when you microwaved it, you might have only heated it unevenly. Parts of the chicken could still be at a temperature that allows bacteria to survive. The risk doesn't end with bacteria alone. The digestive strain caused by reheating chicken can also weaken your system over time. Doctors and nutrition experts have long warned about the connection between poorly handled proteins and chronic health issues. Your pancreas, which is vital for breaking down fats and proteins, is not built to handle constant stress. When it's forced to deal with bacteria, toxins, and to digest protein structures repeatedly, becomes inflamed. This inflammation doesn't cause obvious symptoms at first. But over time, it creates an environment where abnormal cells can grow. Exactly how cancers like pancreatic cancer often begin. Isn't meant to scare you, but to open your eyes. Reheated chicken isn't automatically dangerous. The problem lies in how it's handled. If you store it properly and reheat it thoroughly, you can minimize the risks. But you must be diligent. Refrigerate chicken within an hour of cooking. Store it in airtight containers, not loosely wrapped in foil or plastic. When reheating, warm it up. Make sure it's steaming hot all the way through. Microwaves often heat unevenly, so using an oven or stovetop can be safer. And never reheat chicken more than once. Every cycle of cooling and reheating increases the likelihood of bacterial contamination and protein degradation. It's also worth reconsidering how much chicken you cook at once. Many people prepare large quantities to save time, but this leads to more reheating and higher risk. Cooking smaller batches more frequently may take a little extra effort, but it drastically improves food safety and protects your pancreas from unnecessary stress. Remember, your pancreas is a small but powerful organ. It doesn't complain when it's struggling, it just keeps working quietly until it's too late. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers because it's often diagnosed at an advanced stage. That's why prevention is so critical. By paying attention to something as simple as how you reheat chicken, you're giving your pancreas a better chance to stay healthy and strong for years to come. This may seem like a small change, but it's not. Every mindful step you take to protect your health today adds up to a stronger, safer future. Don't let convenience put your life at risk. Chicken can be a nutritious part of your diet, but only if you treat it with the respect and care it deserves. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, celery, and lettuce are often hailed as superfoods. They're packed with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber. Everything your body needs to thrive. But here's the surprising truth. When these greens are reheated incorrectly, they can transform from life-giving foods into silent health hazards. And one of the organs most affected by this hidden danger is your pancreas. Most people would never suspect leafy greens could pose any risk. Fresh, vibrant, and so clearly healthy when eaten raw or freshly cooked. But when you cook these vegetables and then reheat them later, a chemical change can occur, one that may increase your risk of serious diseases, including pancreatic cancer. Leafy greens contain naturally high levels of nitrates. When fresh, nitrates are harmless and even beneficial because they help improve blood flow and support heart health. But when these vegetables are reheated, nitrates can convert into nitrites and then into nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are compounds that researchers have linked to cancer, including pancreatic cancer. Harmful compounds can damage the cells of your pancreas over time, increasing the chance of dangerous mutations. Think about how easy it is to fall into this trap. You cook a big batch of spinach as a side dish for dinner, store the leftovers in the fridge, and reheat them the next day in the microwave. It feels harmless, even smart. After all, you're eating vegetables. In that simple act of reheating, you may have created compounds that stress your pancreas, slowly damaging it meal after meal. Doctors and nutrition experts have been warning about this for years because leafy greens are considered healthy. The message often goes unheard. Many people assume that healthy foods are always safe. But food safety isn't just about what you eat. It's also about how you prepare and handle it. Reheated leafy greens may look the same, but their chemical composition can be completely different. Important to understand the cumulative effect. Eating reheated spinach or kale once isn't going to give you cancer. The danger comes from making this mistake over and over, day after day, year after year. Constant exposure to nitrosamines and other harmful compounds can inflame and weaken your pancreas, creating a breeding ground for cancer cells. Pancreatic cancer is notoriously hard to detect early. Survival rates are among the lowest of all cancers. Prevention is the most powerful tool you have, and it starts with the choices you make at every meal. So how can you protect yourself? Safest way is to avoid reheating leafy greens altogether. Cook only the amount you plan to eat at one time. If you must store cooked greens, refrigerate them immediately and eat them cold rather than reheating. Alternatively, add fresh greens to dishes at the last moment so they retain their nutrients and are less likely to be reheated. Another option is to prepare leafy greens in a way that doesn't require reheating. For example, make salads, smoothies, or add them raw to sandwiches. These methods keep nitrates in their safe, natural state. If you enjoy cooked greens, consider steaming or sautéing small portions you can finish in one meal instead of cooking large batches for later. Your pancreas is counting on you to make mindful choices, an organ that rarely sends clear warning signs when it's in trouble. It quietly works behind the scenes, helping you digest food and regulate blood sugar. But when it's repeatedly exposed to harmful compounds, it begins to break down, and the damage often goes unnoticed until it's too late. Thought of reheated leafy greens turning into something harmful may feel discouraging, but knowledge is power. Now that you know the risk, you can take steps to protect yourself and your family. By changing how you prepare and store leafy greens, you're doing more than preserving their nutrients. You're safeguarding your health and reducing your risk of one of the deadliest forms of cancer. Remember, prevention is always easier than treatment. Leafy greens can still be a powerful part of your diet, but only if you treat them with the same respect and care you would any other perishable food. One small change in your kitchen habits could make a life-changing difference in your future. The pancreas is one of the most crucial yet least understood organs in your body. It's small, tucked deep behind your stomach, and you rarely think about it until something goes wrong. But when it comes to your long-term health, especially your risk for pancreatic cancer, understanding how this organ functions and how your daily choices impact it is vital. The pancreas has two main jobs. First, produces digestive enzymes that help break down the food you eat into nutrients your body can use. Second, it makes insulin and other hormones that regulate your blood sugar levels. Roles make it central to both your digestive and metabolic health. When the pancreas is healthy, it works quietly and efficiently. But when it's exposed to harmful compounds, toxins, and inflammation repeatedly, it becomes vulnerable. This vulnerability is where the danger lies. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers in the world, often diagnosed late because the pancreas is buried deep inside the abdomen, making early symptoms easy to miss. By the time most people notice pain, weight loss, or jaundice, the disease has already advanced. That's why prevention is so important. Now let's connect this to food. When you reheat certain foods incorrectly, like potatoes, rice, chicken, and leafy greens, you expose your body to harmful bacteria, toxins, and compounds. Each of these can trigger inflammation in your digestive system. Chronic inflammation is like a slow burning fire inside your body. Damages healthy cells, disrupts normal function, and creates an environment where abnormal cells can grow and multiply. This is exactly how cancers, including pancreatic cancer, often begin, not just inflammation. Reheating foods improperly can also introduce chemical compounds that directly damage your DNA. For example, reheated leafy greens can produce nitrosamines. Scientists have linked to various cancers. Reheated proteins like chicken can undergo changes that create advanced glycation end products, AGEs. molecules that contribute to oxidative stress and cellular damage. All of this puts enormous pressure on your pancreas, is already working hard every day to digest food and regulate blood sugar. It's easy to dismiss these warnings because the effects aren't immediate. You might think, I've been reheating leftovers for years and I feel fine. But the body is remarkably resilient. It can handle occasional stress or exposure to toxins. The problem comes from repetition. Every time you eat improperly reheated food, you add a small insult to your pancreas. Over years and decades, these small injuries add up. They weaken your pancreas, making it more susceptible to diseases like cancer. Doctors and researchers have been sounding the alarm about this connection for years. They've seen how lifestyle habits, what you eat, how you handle food, whether you store it properly, directly impact pancreatic health. And the statistics are sobering. Pancreatic cancer has one of the lowest survival rates because it's so often caught too late. That's why the focus must be on prevention. Understanding the science behind this risk should empower you, not scare you. You have more control than you realize. By making small but consistent changes, you can protect your pancreas and reduce your risk dramatically. Properly storing and reheating food is one of the simplest ways to do this. Cooling leftovers quickly, reheating them thoroughly, and avoiding foods that are dangerous to reheat altogether can go a long way. Your pancreas doesn't ask for much. It simply needs you to treat your body with care. When you give it the right conditions, healthy foods, safe cooking practices, and minimal exposure to toxins, it thrives. And when it thrives, it protects you from serious diseases, including pancreatic cancer. Think of your pancreas like the foundation of a house. If the foundation is solid, the entire structure stands strong. But if it's weakened over time, cracks begin to form. By the time you notice the cracks, damage is already extensive. That's why prevention, building and maintaining a strong foundation, is so critical. Every meal you eat is a chance to either support or harm your pancreas. That may sound heavy, actually liberating. You have the power to make choices today that protect your future. Don't wait for symptoms or a diagnosis to start caring for this vital organ. Start now, with every bite you take. Now that you understand the dangers of reheating certain foods and how they can harm your pancreas, the most important question becomes, what can you do about it? The good news is you are not powerless. In fact, you hold the key to breaking this cycle and protecting your health, one mindful choice at a time. The first step is to change the way you handle leftovers. Most of the danger from reheated foods comes not from the reheating itself, but from improper storage. When cooked food is left at room temperature for too long, bacteria can multiply rapidly. Bacteria often produce toxins that can survive even when the food is reheated. That means you must act fast, refrigerate or freeze leftovers within an hour of cooking. Small habit dramatically reduces the risk of bacterial growth. Once your food is stored safely, the next step is proper reheating. Many people assume that simply warming food until it feels hot is enough, but it isn't. Uneven heating, especially in microwaves, can leave dangerous cold spots where bacteria survive. Safest approach is to reheat food until it is piping hot all the way through. Stir the food if possible and use a thermometer for thick items like chicken or casseroles. The internal temperature should reach at least 165 degrees 74 degrees Celsius to kill harmful bacteria. But protecting your pancreas is about more than just temperature. You must also know which foods are best avoided when it comes to reheating. As you've learned, potatoes, rice, chicken, and leafy greens all carry unique risks when reheated. One powerful way to protect your health is to cook only what you plan to eat when preparing these items. Yes, it may take a little extra effort, but you are trading convenience for safety and long, long-term wellness. You do need to store these foods, handle them with care, cool them quickly by spreading them out on a tray or placing them in shallow, airtight containers. For leafy greens, consider eating them cold rather than reheating. For rice and potatoes, avoid multiple reheating cycles. Once is enough. And for chicken, use an oven or stovetop for even heating instead of relying solely on a microwave. Another powerful step is to rethink your meal planning habits. Instead of cooking large quantities that will inevitably be reheated several times, plan smaller, fresh meals throughout the week. Not only does this reduce your reliance on leftovers, it also helps preserve the nutritional value of your food. Freshly cooked meals simply contain more nutrients and fewer harmful compounds than food that has been stored and reheated repeatedly. But let's go even deeper. Protecting your pancreas also means building a diet and lifestyle that reduce inflammation and support its function. Eat more fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins prepared safely. Drink plenty of water, manage your stress, and avoid smoking or excessive alcohol consumption, both of which can inflame and weaken your pancreas. Regular exercise can also help regulate blood sugar levels, giving your pancreas a much-needed break. Remember, you don't have to make all these changes overnight. Small, consistent steps are far more sustainable and effective. Start by adopting 1 or 2 habits: refrigerate leftovers promptly or stop reheating leafy greens. As these habits become second nature, add more. Goal is progress, not perfection. Your pancreas is an incredible organ. It works quietly and tirelessly every day to keep your body functioning. But it can only take so much abuse before it begins to fail. By breaking the cycle of harmful reheating practices and adopting safer habits, you are giving your pancreas the chance to heal, thrive, and protect you from devastating illnesses like pancreatic cancer. Think about the future you want for yourself and your loved ones. Do you want to spend it battling a disease that could have been prevented, or living fully with energy and vitality? Every safe choice you make in the kitchen today brings you closer to that healthier future. The power is in your hands. By being aware, by staying vigilant, and by making intentional choices, you can break the cycle once and for all. Protecting your pancreas doesn't require dramatic changes. It requires mindfulness, consistency, and the belief that your health is worth the effort. And it is. Now that you know the truth, the choice is in your hands. Your pancreas, the silent guardian of your health, is depending on you to act. You can no longer say you didn't know. Each meal you prepare, leftover you reheat, is a chance to protect or to harm your future. It's easy to ignore these warnings. It's tempting to tell yourself, I've done this for years and I'm fine. But the cost of convenience can be devastating. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most relentless diseases on earth, and once it strikes, rarely gives second chances. But here's the good news: you still have time. Time to break the cycle. Time to be intentional. Time to care for the one body and one life you've been given. Every small decision you make, storing your food properly, reheating it thoroughly, or choosing to eat fresh, can ripple through your future in ways you can't yet see. This isn't about fear. It's about hope. It's about knowing that your choices matter. It's about taking control of your health before it's too late. Imagine the years of energy, the laughter, the milestones you can protect simply by being mindful of how you treat your food and your body. Your health is worth it. Your family is worth it. You are worth it. So starting today, make a decision that could save your life. Don't wait until the warning signs appear, because by then it might be too late. Choose wisely. Choose life.